Hello, my name is Alice, and welcome to my reading recap. Spoiler warning now, if you hear any titles that you don't want spoiled, please skip ahead or click away. Any trigger warnings I think of, I'll list in the description below. Number 1, The Wren in the Holly Library by K.A. Lin. I gave 1.5 out of 5. This was a little promising at first, but I ended up hating it. A thief meets a monster and falls for his charms. At first, they were like crime buddies working together, but halfway through, the sexual thoughts became overbearing, and then they started having way too detailed sex, and it killed my vibe completely. I don't care enough to explain the plot beyond that point. Number 2, One Day by David Nichols. I gave 1 out of 5. I thought this one sounded interesting. A couple meets, and then it shows you where they are each year since they don't immediately get together. It was boring though, and hard for me to follow. I kept thinking there were new characters being introduced, but it was just them. The people they interact with would change at times though, and that confused me even more. Maybe it was just the audiobook. I almost abandoned this after the first half hour, and kept thinking that I should abandon it the entire time, but I stuck it out. The guy is a piece of shit. His thoughts are always so sexual and gross. He's manipulative, and I did not like their interactions at all. Just leave it at the one-night stand and never see each other again. There was a scene later in the book about changing a diaper, and it was painfully detailed and long. Why? What was the point of that? What could that have possibly added to the story other than to represent how shit this book is? Number 3, What Alice Forgot by Liane Moriarty. I gave 4 out of 5. Alice is around 40 years old and falls one day during a spin class, causing her to lose the past 10 years of memories. She thinks it's 1998 when it's actually 2008. That's quite a dramatic change in times. She thinks she's happily with Nick and pregnant with their first child. She's confused where she works, who her friends are, what texting is. I like this. It's a bit silly at times, but still an interesting concept. When she's trying to figure out her new life, her husband seems to hate her. She's not pregnant, but has 3 kids now. She's wondering who the fuck Gina is. She finds pictures and hears things, and for a while it seems like she had an affair with her, but she suspects her husband did. No one actually did. She was her best friend, and she died in front of her and one of her kids. Her and Nick started having issues when Gina's husband cheated on her, and he said, "There's 2 sides to every story." And I completely agree with her. That shows a lack in morals on his part. There's no justification for cheating. When Gina was single, she was getting a hot bod and dressing different, which Alice joined in on. Eventually, that all led to her and Nick separating. Since she's missed all that, she's still madly in love with him and wants to get back together. He agrees to a date, but bets her $20 that she'll change her mind when her memories return, which does happen. That's gotta be so surreal for everyone. I see why dementia is so heartbreaking when even amnesia can be this life-disrupting. She gets her memories back, and a while later, she and Nick do get back together. Amnesia will always make me think of that one Full House episode where Michelle falls off of a horse. Number 4, 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I gave 3 out of 5. I read the sequel to this a couple months ago. The names being different in the synopsis made me think that the 2 books weren't related, but they are. If you're gonna read 1,000 Broken Pieces, you should read this one first. Do as I say, not as I do. Poppy lives next to a Norwegian boy named Rune in Georgia. They meet at 5 years old, and at 8, her grandmother dies and gives her a jar telling her to keep track of all of her most important kisses. It's a jar of 1,000 boy kisses. I've walked by this book at stores often and always thought, whoa, that's a lot of boys to be kissing. But no, it's just one boy. She runs to tell Rune about the adventures her grandma had told her to have with the jar, and he pouts all, "No, you're mine. Those kisses are mine." And then they share their first kiss. They're inseparable until they're 15, and his dad tells him a day before that they're moving back to Norway. He says he's known for a month but didn't want to tell him and upset him. That is so fucked up. His dad ripping him away from his soulmate just for a temporary work thing is one thing, but not letting him have that full month to say goodbye is cruel. They lose their virginities to each other that night, and he leaves. He's rightfully very angry, and soon after, Poppy finds out that she has cancer, but instead of telling Rune like he deserves to know, she just ghosts him. I feel bad for Rune. Everyone in his life is treating him poorly. 2 years later, Rune returns to Georgia, conveniently right next door to Poppy again. Did you kick the new people out of your house, or what? They both go to a party, and when he sees her, he pretends like he's gonna kiss another girl, and she runs away crying. He He follows her and they talk. Eventually she tells him she's sick and that she didn't tell him to not hurt him and just left so he could move on. No, fuck that. Everyone needs closure, in relationships and in life. She stole both of those from him and has the audacity to say it was for his benefit. They get back together and fill her jar with more kisses. He takes her on a trip to New York and somehow arranges it so she can play at Carnegie Hall. Empty, of course, but still. She gets sick really fast and only has a few months left. He kisses her a lot, but then she stops him and says, "I want my 1,000th kiss to be when I leave." Girl, it's just a number. Kiss him while you can. She's so frustrating. The jar isn't even every kiss, just the most important ones, which I would probably end up taking offense to at some point if I was him. Like, why didn't you include that one? She loses her ability to walk but still makes it to prom in a wheelchair. She passes away and it's awkward because she's alive and Rune is kissing her, but then her dad is standing there like, Rune, she's gone. So he writes out the last heart for her jar about that kiss. After her memorial, her dad gives him a box she had left for him. She applies to a university in New York for him to pursue photography and he got accepted. She also leaves him with his own jar for 1,000 girl kisses and gives him her blessing. Side note here, but why do the jars need to be so gender specific? What if he wants to kiss a guy one day? That should be fine. Why can't he include that in his jar? It flashes forward 10 years and Rune is under her favorite tree and he's talking to a beautiful woman and calling her baby. I was so mad, but then it's revealed it's Poppy and he just thinks of her while he's there. She asks why he never loved or kissed anyone ever since her and he said that he didn't need to because he has love and family and friends. I hated when she gave him the jar, and I love that it's showing that he can be happy without a constant living romantic partner. He has his soulmate already. People are so quick to replace people. I think it's sad. I did like the concept, but I do not like the way this author writes. She phrases everything like it's gonna blow your mind when not everything will. She also misleads often, like that ending with Rune and a girl. Earlier at the party, Poppy had asked if he'd kissed anyone else, and he said, "I've been so angry drinking and partying. I'm 17, which implies that he means he has kissed other people, but then he says that he hasn't. Why bother with the misdirection? It's so annoying. The book overall is okay, though. I may avoid this author in the future. I haven't fully decided yet. At least it's not porn like everything else I've come across lately. Number 5, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I gave 2.5 out of 5. I am beyond disappointed. I'm in the middle of reading the Throne of Glass series, which I've been really enjoying. I was hoping that meant I'd found a new author to follow. Sadly, that is not the case. She decided to up the sex in this one and put important dialogue in the middle of it, like, super important details here. He kissed my thighs and bit my nipples. More important information here. His tongue licking me. More important information. Can we just not do that? I am not sitting through the porn to learn those details, so I'll just be left without information while I'm skipping through all of the porn that I don't want to hear. I don't get why anyone would want to read about sex. Sex is like shitting. I don't want to read every time a character takes a shit. Why do I have to read about their sex lives? It's so aggravating. That aside, the beginning of this was a little hard to get into because the main character is a hunter. Luckily, that's mostly only the beginning, so I was able to move forward. Feyre is a 19-year-old taking care of her lousy father and 2 ungrateful sisters because she promised her late mother that she would. Hunting one day, she hunted a wolf who ends up being a fairy. Humans and fairies have laws in place that prevent humans from killing them. She did so by mistake. A beast comes to claim her life as punishment but offers her to live forever in the fairyland instead. While there, she stays at an immortal fairy, Tamlin's palace. He's oddly nice to her, feeding her, dressing her, getting her paint supplies, and showing her around. She ends up having a better life and falls for her captor. Very Beauty and the Beast style. Danger is nearing, so Tamlin sends her back home where her family are well off now thanks to him, and they were made to believe she was helping family instead of being held captive. She hears that Tamlin's in danger and rushes back to the fairyland to help and ends up having to murder 3 fairies, including a young child, in order to save him. She makes a deal with some guy for help in exchange for her being his for 1 week, a month, for the rest of her life. The guy tattoos her, which allows him to get into her mind. I don't like the hunting, the fact she falls for her captor. She sells herself for aid in Tamlin, and Tamlin, her captor, had to perform some disgusting ritual where he goes and fucks some woman one night, and the woman didn't seem to have a choice in the matter. He had told her to stay, but she didn't. He couldn't find her, so he fucked someone else, and then later these two end up fucking instead. It's just disgusting. Honestly, a 2.5 rating is beyond generous. I'm not a fan, but I waited 7 months for these books to become available at the library, so I'm gonna try to read more. Number 6, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I gave 3.5 out of 5. The second book in the Thorns and Roses series. I enjoyed this one much more than the first one, but there's still way too much sex. The story in between is good though. Feyre is engaged to Tamlin, but having nightmares after being forced to murder people in the previous book. Tamlin keeps leaving her alone and won't let her in on what he's doing, and also keeps her under a constant watch, so she feels imprisoned. She keeps up with her deal to see that man once a week every month. His name is Rhysand, by the way, sometimes referred to as Rhys. Rhysand leaves her to do as she pleases during her visits, never forcing a hand on her. He says she can call him through their tattoo connection anytime she needs. One day when Tamlin makes her feel like nothing and literally traps her in her room as he leaves, she reaches out and escapes to Rhysand's. I actually ended up really liking him. He cares for her, treats her well, and as an equal, tells her what's happening and includes her in action. She ends up deciding she wants to stay there permanently and sends word to Tamlin that she's done with him. At some point, Lucien, Tamlin's sidekick, shows up trying to get her to return, but she refuses. I almost like Lucien too. If he'd stop being Tamlin's little bitch, he'd be a cool guy. Feyre falls for Rhysand soon after. He admits that he's always loved her and that they're mated, much like imprinting in Twilight. She works with him to help save his people. Tamlin makes a deal with the king to break Feyre's bond to Rhysand. When everyone's gathered together, the king throws Feyre's sister into a cauldron of immortality to prove it's safe. Their family is pretty against the Fae, so it's kind of like a curse for them. As it's happening, Lucien announces that Elaine, one of the sisters, is his mate. Feyre discreetly drops the wards surrounding everyone and agrees to break the vow and go with Tamlin. She begs as if she wants that, while using her connection to tell Rhysand to flee and save her sisters. The king painfully breaks the bond, and Rhysand and their people, including Feyre's sisters, escape while Feyre returns with Lucien and Tamlin. Lucien seems suspicious, but Tamlin seems to be falling for the charade. Us readers are let in that the previous night, Feyre and Rhysand had another bond created so that they're actually still linked. She's been made High Lady of the Night Court, a complete equal to Rhysand, and also their spy. I do enjoy the story a lot, it just doesn't need to be so pornographic. Luckily, in the middle, there wasn't sex, but even when the act itself isn't there, their descriptors are very sexual. She describes a dead woman's body position as her back was arched in the throes of passion, which is disgusting and disrespectful. Even when she thinks her sister may die, she's focused on her breasts being visible through her dress. I don't know if it was her editor or publisher or who told Sarah to start writing porn, but stop it please. I'd be getting into the story and suddenly another boner nipple would appear and I'd be put off again. Number 7, My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. I gave 2.5 out of 5. Cassie is apartment hunting when she comes across Frederick's ad on Craigslist for a room in a nice apartment for only $200 a month. Her desperation causes her to overlook the obvious red flag and she meets up with him. They both agree it would be a good fit and she moves in. Things are fine at first since they have opposite sleep schedules, but one day she finds bags of blood in the fridge and runs out. She decides she was being too hasty and gives him a chance to explain. He says his friend jokingly had him drink something that put him into a coma for the last 100 years and needed someone to help him adapt after missing so many years, and that's why he had gotten a roommate. He only drinks blood from the blood bags and is at no risk to her. Cassie agrees to come back and help him, and they fall for each other in the process. The ending flashes forward to an engagement, and that's that. It was surprisingly funny and lighthearted. I enjoyed its silliness. The sex scenes were very long and graphic, which I skipped through, catching the weirdest snippets in the process, as I did, but besides that, sex wasn't bleeding so heavily through the rest of the story, which was a nice break from the Thorns and Roses series. Number 7.5, The Summer Pact by Emily Giffin. I gave 0 out of 5. I did not finish this one, so I'll only count it as half. The book starts with a girl ignoring a friend's call and later walking in to find her dead of suicide. One person's first questions was she a virgin? And that just hurt my soul. It flashes forward in time and she walks in on her boyfriend fucking some girl that she follows on Instagram, and she doesn't even stop them. She quietly slips out and lets them finish, and that's when I decided to finish too and return this book to the library. Number 8, Island of Shipwrecks by Lisa McMahon. This is the 5th book in the Unwanted series, and I do not have a rating for it. 5 books in, and it still hasn't held my attention at all. I think a lot of it has something to do with the narrator. He puts on way too many extreme voices, and it really takes me out of the story. I only listened to these because I accidentally bought book 6, not realizing it was a series. I'm curious if I'll actually enjoy that one. Number 9, A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I gave 3 out of 5. Book 3 in the Thorns and Roses series. This series is becoming a chore to get through. I did not enjoy the first one much due to all the porn. I got pretty into the second one, but then this one was just so boring. It starts with Feyre pretending to be saved at Tamlin's. She soon escapes, and I'm like, okay, is she just going to keep escaping Tamlin? Lucian goes with her this time, and they fight his family along the way. Eventually, they're back at Ryzan's place, which is technically hers too. Her sisters are there, and everyone prepares for a big battle, and it started feeling like every other fantasy end-of-the-world type book, with battle training for way too many pages. Eventually, there's an actual battle, and oh no, the girl's dad dies. Ryzan dies too, but of course he gets resurrected oddly with the help of Tamlin. This book was just so boring and predictable. Lucian and Elaine are just barely now starting to interact, so I am looking forward to that at least. Some more porn in this one too, and there was some dialogue, but I skipped over it, so I'm not sure if anything important happened there. Oh, and someone came out about liking girls in a really cringy scene. She's telling Feyre she likes women, and Feyre's all, but you've had sex with guys. And I just hate that kind of stupidity. So what? People do a lot of things in life. It doesn't mean that they like it, or that it's their preference, or that they even chose to do so. How about instead you listen to her instead of implying that she's wrong about herself? Number 10, A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. A Court of Thorns and Roses, the Christmas special. I listened to this accidentally as a graphic audio, and oh my god, I cannot do those, it seems. I had listened to a full cast version of Illuminate and thought it was cool, but here it's just so cringy. They'll say they poured a drink, and after the line you'll hear water pouring. It would say someone was approaching, and then you'd hear clonk, clonk, clonk of their footsteps. It made it feel so silly and overperformed. I'm just glad this didn't end up being audio porn. It's basically just a break from the war in the previous book, with some playing in the snow. I have a 4-week break of this series before the next book becomes available at the library, and I'm so grateful for that. Why am I still reading these? Because I had them clogging up my holds for 7 months, and now I have to torture myself further. I don't know. I can't find anything good anyway. That's all for now. Happy reading!